Spookyou's frightening nights of Halloween.
Hello, my dear Frankenfriends, and welcome to Spookyou, your one-stop shop for all things ghastly and ghoulish. I'm your host, Barnabas Vixen, and it's night 8 of our Frightening Nights of Halloween series, and, well, I'm officially tired of doing intros. So, for the next 4 nights, all that will be displayed on your screen for the first minute of the video will be your most cherished memories in a blazing hellfire. You can thank our VFX department for that one. We've got Ashes Fall and Mistress of CreepyPasta taking the reins as narrator aficionados tonight, as well as EaPatbp dropping by with another story to satisfy your ear holes, SapphireLion15 throwing their hat in the ring, and ButIDntWanaBeAPirate heading up the authors for tonight. Links are in the description. Now it's time to suit up, strap in, and enjoy the first story of the night. There's a man who follows me around and narrates my life, and he started to say some upsetting things. Written by EaPatbp and narrated by Ashes Fall.
This story is written by Reddit user EaPatbp and was submitted to r/NoSleep. Links to her other stories down below. There's a man who follows me around and narrates my life, and he started to say some unsettling things. He's always been here, although I actually don't know if he's a he, and though I wouldn't want to assume anything, the voice is definitely a male voice. I've never seen his face, always the back of him. He wears a black trench coat with a popped collar, so that all I can really see is the very top of his head and a part of his black boots. I can't communicate with him and figured this out a few years back. He just stands a few feet away from me at all times, his back to me, narrating my entire life. No one else can see him. I figured this out a few years back as well, nor can they hear him. My day usually starts off the same. I always wake up to the same sentence. Natalia wakes up and rolls over in her bed. Every single day he says that because that is what I do. It's all very mundane. My life is not that interesting after all. I've sort of learned to live with it, and I can almost tune him out now. I've never really told anyone else about him because I know that no one would believe me. So I really don't have much of a choice other than learning to deal with it and tuning him out when I really needed to. About a week ago, I was cooking dinner, mashed potatoes and black bean tacos, and tuning him out as normal. As I was chopping up some cilantro for my tacos, however, he said something that caught my attention. Natalia is innocently chopping cilantro without any knowledge that she is in grave danger. I froze, the knife in the middle of my small pile of cilantro, and looked over at him. He was standing on the other side of the kitchen island, facing my dinner table. "What?" I asked, knowing that he wasn't going to reply. At this point, I think I'd be more freaked out about him replying than him not. He said nothing for a few minutes, so I finished chopping, wiping the pieces of cilantro that got stuck to my blade with my finger, and cutting it in the process. Fuck! I turned around and turned on the faucet, rinsing the knife and my finger. Natalia cuts herself, and her blood oozes out, pleasing the one who watches. I turned the faucet off and turned around. He hadn't moved, but I was sure I heard him correctly. I walked over to the window on the wall to my left and pulled on the cord. shutting the blinds because I became paranoid. I managed to eat my dinner and do the dishes without any other weird comments, and got ready for bed. As I got sleepier, I reached over and turned off the lamp by my bed, rolling over on my left side and closing my eyes. Natalia rolls over, closing her eyes and peacefully lying in her bed. What she doesn't know, however, is that she will soon face a horrible fate that will end in her death. I opened my eyes, sitting up and looking over at his silhouette, slightly lit by the moonlight. I waited for a few minutes, but he said nothing else, and I eventually fell asleep. I woke up the next morning as my alarm went off. Natalia wakes up and rolls over in bed, one day closer to her inevitable death. I got up, walking into the bathroom and slamming the door shut, annoyed and a little scared. He had been narrating my entire life and had never said anything creepy or out of the ordinary. So what's going on now? I opened the faucet and began splashing water onto my face. Natalia washes her face, but she doesn't seem to realize that it's much easier for someone to attack when her eyes are closed. I rinsed the soap away from my eye area and looked at my reflection in front of me and at his, standing behind me. I finished rinsing my face with my eyes open and managed to dry it without completely covering my eyes. The rest of my week went pretty similar, normal narrations for the most part, with some creepy stuff sprinkled in. He is coming for her very soon. It is unavoidable. Natalia must die. Every time he said something, I looked around at my surroundings paranoid. I spent the entire week anxious and paranoid. I barely slept, fearing that I would wake up in the middle of the night to someone performing spontaneous surgery on me. I put a knife in my bedside drawer and pepper spray under my pillow. Yesterday, there were more creepy things than usual. Natalia's days are numbered. Natalia has been feeling anxious, as she should. The one who watches is arriving shortly. The one who watches is very excited to kill Natalia. There will be no escape, only death. I didn't go anywhere, for fear that would somehow cause whatever was going to happen sooner. Last night, I was getting ready for bed, brushing my teeth and staring at his reflection behind me in the mirror. As I swished mouthwash around in my mouth, he spoke again. Natalia brushes her teeth for the last time. Tomorrow, she dies. I spit out the mouthwash, choking on a bit that had made its way down my throat. I coughed and wheezed. Natalia choked on the mouthwash, feeling like she was dying. But it's not her time yet. Her time is tomorrow. I managed to catch my breath and walked over to my bed, crawling in and leaving the lamps on. The last thing I needed was to be woken up at midnight and have to fight off a killer in the dark. I woke up today, a few hours before my alarm, and got up. I was still alive, and nothing was out of place. Maybe I wasn't going to die today. Maybe it was all some sort of fluke. I walked into the bathroom and grabbed my toothbrush. I squeezed out some toothpaste to brush my teeth and put the toothbrush into my mouth. I looked up into the mirror and at my reflection, and then I froze. I spit into the sink and looked around the bathroom. I stuck my head back into my bedroom and looked around there as well. I made my way through every single room in my house, but he was nowhere to be seen. He was gone. 25 years of following me around and narrating my life, and now suddenly, when I was supposed to die, he just disappeared? Somehow, this made me feel worse, as I realized that while the things he was saying were creepy, they were also helping me by warning me how much time I had left. But now I had no warning and no choice but to wait it out and see what happened. I can't shake the feeling that I'm definitely going to die. But how? And by who? Who was the one who watches? What does that even mean? I spent my entire day in the kitchen. I figured there are more exits here as well as weapons, and I'd probably be safer here than in another smaller room of the house. So far, nothing has happened. I've been sitting in silence, which is odd because I've never been in complete silence. About an hour ago, all the lights began to flicker in the house, but that only lasted a few seconds, and it's gone back to normal now. I still don't know what to expect, but I think I'd probably be safer at my house. Well, I thought I would be, until the doorbell rang. I got up and walked into the living room, walking up to the door and peering out of the peephole. It was him. He was standing outside of my porch, with his back to me as usual. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe, as I just watched him standing there. He's still out there now, but he hasn't said a word. I'm still in my kitchen, not knowing what to do. I could hear him mumbling outside the door a few minutes ago, and I finally decided to get up and listen. 2,000, 1,999, 1,998, 1,997. He's still counting down, and I have now got about 20 minutes left. I can see that it's getting darker and darker outside as he counts down, even though it's not even 3 o'clock in the afternoon yet. Every time I look out the window, something disappears. A house on my street, a car, a tree. Whenever something vanishes, it's replaced with darkness, and he keeps counting down. This might be my last chance at communication. I'm going to die today.
And now, I'd like to take a second to hear what Ash's Fall has to say about their channel.
Hi everybody, thank you for listening to my narration of EaPatbp's story. If you enjoyed this story, I highly recommend you check out her other stories on Reddit. If you enjoy my narration, well, thank you for listening. I'm quite new to this narration world, but I've started a YouTube channel under the username Ash's Falls, and hopefully I'll be updating more spooky tales. Bye!
Great stuff! Be sure to hit the description of this video for the link to her channel. As for the author of this story, EaPatbp, well, you guys should remember her from Night 2 with her awesome story about the things and the bear costumes handing out popcorn. I'd like to just reiterate that if you'd like to support this author by more than just simply following along with their Reddit, you'll find an Amazon link in the description to their most recent publication, The Discarded, a series that she penned with 24 other authors. Please shower this author with your love and support and consider purchasing her most recent work. You can find all of her links in the description below, so please be sure to check them out. Our next story is In the Tunnel, written by SapphireLion15 and narrated by Mistress of CreepyPasta.
There it is, Mr. Everwood said. The Freckman Tunnel. I gazed out at it. The reason for our 40-minute cart ride was an old, dilapidated train tunnel. The railroad tracks that led through it had been undisturbed for years. Weeds and other plants grew between the planks, and the planks themselves were rotting away. The tunnel itself seemed 10 minutes from collapsing. Even without the local legends calling the tunnel haunted, I still would have felt uneasy going in. So, what did the call say again? Everwood and I were rangers for the Freckman National Forest. Considering how many tourists showed up every year, we were basically babysitters. I could tell you horror story after horror story about people who almost burned down their campsite, sank their canoe, or angered a bear simply because they refused to admit that they didn't know what they were doing. But every now and then, someone would find themselves hopelessly lost, and it was the ranger's job to get them back to safety. At 5 this morning, a guy ran into the HQ, eyes wide. He said that he and his daughter had been hiking near the tunnel when he suddenly lost track of her. He looked around himself, panicked, and ran down the trail screaming for help until he got to HQ. We simply have to find the girl and bring her back. Easy. It was rarely easy. Anyone who's done 10 minutes worth of research on disappearances in national parks knows that not every person who vanishes is easily found. If it was, then I'd sleep a little easier at night. We got out of the cart and started to get our gear together. Along with Everwood and I, 3 other teams were searching the trails and area around the tunnel. There was a chance that the little girl had decided not to go in there, but it had been cloudy and humid all day, and the chances of a rainstorm were slowly climbing. Thus, so were the chances that she'd gone into the tunnel for shelter. If she had, then it was clear that she was a tourist. No sane local would go in there alone. 20 years ago, shortly before the Freckman Forest was declared a national park, the police department had experienced a sudden rush of missing children cases. Specifically, 8 children between the ages of 6 and 13. Nearly a year passed before the truth was discovered. A local construction worker had stumbled into the police station, eyes wide and breathing heavily, and admitted to kidnapping, torturing, and murdering all 8 of the children. He'd led them to the tunnel, showed them where the bodies were buried, and went quietly to prison. When asked why he confessed, as he'd never been suspected and might have gotten away clean, he answered with 4 words: "They told me to." He got life in prison. He's still alive and in his late 50s or early 60s. I've heard he still gets death threats in the mail. After the children's corpses were given proper burials, very strange reports started coming in regarding the tunnel. One woman, a math teacher to several of the murdered children, had been placing a bouquet of flowers at the mouth of the tunnel when she heard a small child crying. As she stepped in, the crying turned to a blood-curdling scream. She stepped out, and it stopped. Other such reports came in, most of them similar to the first. One man, an amateur paranormal investigator, had decided to walk the entire length of the tunnel with a handheld video camera. He was found a day later at the mouth of the tunnel, in a catatonic state. The camera seemed fine at first glance, but the tape had been destroyed beyond repair. It looked like it had been chewed to pieces. I'd first been told the story when I'd come to town for college. A few friends and I had even hiked up to the tunnel. We hadn't gone in. We hadn't even dared each other to. Still, there was a pull to it. Even if you didn't go in, you still wanted to see it. Which is probably why we still got reports of creepy crap happening near or in the tunnel. Everwood gave me a friendly slap on the back, making me jump. "Come on, Ellison, we have a job to do." He put on his gloves and took his flashlight from his belt. He always wore gloves, even if it wasn't that cold out. We turned on our flashlights and started in. The tunnel is only about a mile long and cuts straight through the Freckman Mountain, which is more like a rocky hill than a mountain. You can actually see the other end of the tunnel from the opening. Still, it's incredibly dark in there, and the odd placement of the tunnel mouths mean that the wind rarely blows through. Other than some moss and earthworms, there wasn't any wildlife in there. Even bears avoided the tunnel. I doubted heavily that she was in there, but I called out her name. "Emily?" My voice reverberated off the stone walls and sounded out of place. I looked at Everwood. He gave me a smile, but his eyes betrayed him. He was as nervous as I was. We walked for a minute. What few breezes did blow through had brought in a few dead leaves. They crunched under our boots. As familiar as the sound was, I almost wished that they weren't there. The noise echoed off the walls and made it sound like there was an army walking through instead of two middle-aged men. While I knew I wouldn't see anything, I kept looking over my shoulder to make sure that it was just us two. I was about to suggest that we turn back, as she obviously wasn't in there, when Everwood signaled for me to stop. He pointed to the wall and shined his flashlight there. I copied him, expecting to see the girl or some hideous sight. It turned out to be neither. After the police had finished their work in the tunnel, the mayor had arranged for a plaque to be made and placed in the tunnel. In bold letters, it stated the names of the children and the fact that they'd been murdered at the spot where the plaque hung. It was covered in 20 years' worth of grime, but it was still readable. It still sent a shiver down my spine. At that point, we were halfway through. The end of the tunnel was becoming brighter and brighter. Still, it seemed like we were in pitch darkness when the flashlights went out. "The hell?" Everwood cursed as he blindly opened the battery compartment to his flashlight. "Let's just keep going." I didn't want to spend one more second in that tunnel. I wasn't just nervous anymore. I was scared. There was something about that tunnel, something about being in the exact place where those kids died that made me want to run. If I'd been alone, I would have already been running. Everwood must have heard the panic in my voice because he started walking forward again. I followed. I wanted him to go faster. I wanted out of there. I felt a cold hand slip into mine. I squeezed it. I always liked how Everwood wasn't afraid to show some friendly affection. I'd seen him hug lost hikers when they were scared and joke with scared little kids to help them relax. I let go of the hand as we got closer to the end, then I practically ran out. It had started raining while we were in the tunnel, and the daylight made my eyes scream in pain. I didn't care. I closed my eyes and felt the drops hitting my body. Everwood didn't ask me what I was doing. He just stood to the side. It wasn't long before my radio crackled to life. It was Ranger Suzuki, a member of one of the other teams. "We've found the girl. She was over near the lake." "She okay?" "Affirmative. Just a little wet from the rain. Start heading back to HQ. 10-4. I put my radio back in its holster and told Everwood the good news. He looked relieved. We started heading back, this time walking around the tunnel. There was no need to hurry. Our shifts would be over by the time we got back. Once our cart was in sight, I really started to relax. "Everwood?" "Yeah?" "Thanks for what you did in the tunnel." "What? What do you mean?" "You know." I was embarrassed to say it, but finally just spat it out. "Thanks for holding my hand." Everwood stopped dead. I stopped too, ready to argue. That's when I realized that Everwood was still wearing his gloves. The hand I'd held had been cold and bare. We looked at each other in pure terror, then broke into a run for our cart.
Wonderful narration as always, Mistress. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you like horror narrations? Good. Do you like corgis? Even better, because when you follow Mistress of CreepyPasta on Twitter, not only do you get to keep up to date on all of her newest releases, but you'll also get to see her adorable little doggos. So be sure to find her on Twitter at Mistress Creeps and subscribe to her YouTube channel for all things horror. And now for the author of In the Tunnel, SapphireLion15. First of all, what a cool name. Secondly, you'll find a handful of incredible stories on this author's Reddit profile, with more to come in the future, I'm sure. Give them a follow, read their stories, and support this author since they were so generous as to allow us to use their work on this channel. And finally, we've reached the final story of the night. Transpolar. Written by ButIDntWanaBeAPirate, and narrated by our vivacious voiceover virtuoso. On January 14th, 1991, FedEx Flight 1408, a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, disappeared somewhere over northeastern Siberia, between 5 and 9 hours into its transpolar flight from Seoul, South Korea, to Memphis, Tennessee. 4 days later, the wreckage was found roughly 200 miles southeast of the town of Tiksi, Russia. The following is a transcript of the cockpit voice recorder, detailing the dialogue on the flight deck during the final half hour of the flight. The crew, Captain Douglas McIntyre and First Officer Tyrone Dobbs, are presumed dead. Their bodies have not been located at this time.
Local time of recording start, 12:16:32 a.m.
Wow, it must be real garbage. The city's actually called Las Baños? Like the crapper? It's Los Baños, and yeah, I've been. It's a shithole, so the name is apt. Guess whoever named it had a good sense of humor about it. Probably some settler in the 1800s. Yeah. Speaking of baños, I think the coffee got to me. Mind holding her down, Doug? Do it to it. Hey, you feel those bumps? If I got piss on the toilet seat, let the record show it was your flying. Hey, Doug, did you hear that knocking? Yeah, maybe the cargo came loose. Okay, I can go look.
Hello? Is someone there? Please, open the door up.
What the shit?
Please. It's freezing. Can you let me in?
Tyrone, take the controls. Excuse me, who are you?
Please, I'll freeze to death if you don't let me in. I'm scared, and I don't know where I am.
First, you'll tell me how you got on this flight. This is a cargo flight, and you're a damn stowaway. Sir, can you tell me your name? Sir?
I don't like my name. Can you please let me in? It's so cold and
Doug, he sounds like he might be disabled or something. Oh, shit. This is fucking perfect. There's no way we're unlocking that door, are we, Captain? I mean, that goes against any security protocol. Hey there. We want to let you in, but we want to make sure you're friendly, and we just want to ask you some things. Is that all right, friend? My name's Doug, and I'm with Tyrone.
Okay, I'll try. It's just so cold.
Tyrone, keep flying. I have this for now. Friend, do you know how you got here with us tonight?
I got lost out in the dark, and I just don't know. I'm just so cold.
Okay, calm down. Everything's gonna be fine. Ty, what's the temperature back there reading? Not too bad. 61 degrees, it looks like. Ty, maybe we should let him in, you know? I mean, imagine the lawsuit if this person was, like, touring the FedEx facility with a family member or some shit and got onto the plane somehow and then froze because we didn't help. Fuck. I don't know. Doug, I checked through this plane after we closed doors. Every single nook and cranny. That fucker was not there, I swear. Well, Tyrone, he's obviously fucking here, isn't he? Doug, please just hear me out. I looked everywhere, and
Please, open the door.
hang on, friend. We're just making sure we can do that so we don't get in trouble, okay? I looked everywhere, and the doors were closed already. If there is a person other than us on this plane, Doug, then they were hiding in an access hatch or a closet or a... It means they really wanted to be on this fucking plane. Get it? That person out there may want to really fuck this thing up. Please. Shit. All right, that's fair. This is just all very unsettling. It's so weird.
Hey, there's another door out here. Maybe they'll let me in.
Oh shit. Is he talking about the... Hey friend, don't touch anything out there. Fuck, we're in the DC-10, Ty. If he touches the cargo door controls, that thing will open. Please, come back to the door over here. Doug, please, for the love of God, do not open that door. I'm pulling the cargo fuse so it won't open... Oh god, its face is just... It's missing. What the fuck? Tyrone, open the cargo door and suck it out. Oh, it's got my face. It's got my...
End of record.
Federal aviation investigators in the U.S. Department of Transport concluded that the forward cargo hatch opened mid-flight and became detached, lodging itself into engine number 2. Subsequent percussive forces led to immediate in-flight breakup of the airframe. The third voice recorded has not been identified at this time. On But I Don't Want to Be a Pirate's profile, you'll find a plethora of stories to keep you terrorized for years to come. Seriously, there's a lot of great stuff here that you need to check out. As of this recording, his last post is from 6 days ago, so it seems that he's still active. So look forward to seeing even more sinister stories from him soon. Links are in the description, so be sure to check them out. And that's gonna wrap things up for us tonight, my darling deviants. Thank you so much to the narrators and authors that lent their talents to this video, and be sure you devour the links in the description to check out each and every one of them. This wouldn't be possible without all of their hard work. Now tomorrow we'll be back again at the same time with more narrators and authors to satiate that horrific appetite of yours. Smash that thumbs up, annihilate that subscribe button, and ring that little bell while you're at it. Until next time, my ghastly gang, stay spooky.